Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show 873, Gary's here and we've got lots to talk about. I've got something new to talk about that looks quite cool and some fun with that. We'll be talking about the Surface event, what was showed off there. Was it good? Was it not so good? We're talking about the release of Windows 11 2022 and the first updates. Gary's got a load of Amazon Smart Home news and lots more, so let's get straight to Gary. Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
I've got my Windows Insider t-shirt on tonight.
Well, I got mine on, but you can't see it because my camera's not working.
Yeah, camera's
weird. It works everywhere else. You can
Of course.
use it for anything else. Use it for login, all that sort of stuff. But as soon as I start using Teams, it stops working.
Yeah,
and that seems to be since the latest Windows 11 update. So
right.
So I'm going to write a report.
So we have got some updates on Windows 11 we can talk about this week. With Ignite was last week. We talked about that, the Surface event, what we got right, what we didn't, and I've got some new toy that I want to show you, new gadget that is quite impressed with. So quite busy. No Richard tonight because he's out gallivanting somewhere with space buddies or something like that. I'm not quite sure what he was doing, but some space buddy thing that he's doing. Yeah. So let's start with probably the thing that there's not much to talk about, which is Ignite, because that was last week, and I followed a little bit of that, but I think you paid more attention than I did on that one. So was there anything interesting at Ignite?
If you want an avatar in Teams, that's about the only thing which was consumerish. The sort of mesh avatars are now available will be available in the Teams store using the Avatars app. And then you can have effects and avatars and have an avatar rather than yourself in the meetings, which I did try to do tonight, but it doesn't seem to be available yet. So I think it's going to be available.
That's not there yet, is it not?
No, doesn't seem to be. So it's in private preview. So I think it's just if you happen to be on their preview list, which I thought I was, you should be able to get it. But maybe it's because you have to be on the preview as well to be able to see them or something. Anyway, yeah, that was one thing. On Teams, there's a few other things coming on Teams. The ability to share things a bit more on together mode. You remember the together mode thing where you can sit together?
Oh yes, yeah.
That was a bit useless really because it only applied to you. So if you set it up on your together mode, you saw it as a together mode, but nobody else saw it as a together mode. Whereas now, unless they all joined in, now the meeting organizer will be able to create together mode option and also assign seats, which is quite an interesting option. So you can put people to sit next to each other if you want to in the together mode.
Oh, that's interesting as well. I noticed that they're always popping in new features in Teams, aren't they? That's every time I go into Teams, I see there's something else in there that they've turned on.
So that was that. They're starting to add more apps to Teams as well. It's sort of becoming, which is not surprising because most of us who work nowadays probably spend a lot of our time in Teams, and actually that's the place you probably want apps available to you. So yeah, I think it's if you want apps at all. But things like 3M are doing a post-it note for Teams and things like that. So yeah. Probably the biggest news, of course, is Office is no more.
Yes, that is interesting, that isn't it? I mean, just a major brand like Office, and they're are they getting rid of completely? I've seen the messages. In fact, I'll bring some up and share my screen. But yeah, is it all going completely?
Well, certainly Office 365 is going. That's now Microsoft 365, which had been muted for a while, but they seem to be saying that they won't be using the Office brand at all. And the team will become the Microsoft 365 team. I mean that's I'm reading between the lines there because that's not actually stated anywhere, but that seemed to be what they were saying. So yeah, interesting. Definitely say major rebranding, but I guess nobody buys Office anymore.
Yeah.
So you buy 365 for other things, and you happen to get Office from it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, so I've just shared it up on my screen, a small window of it. But this is if you go to office.com now and sign in, It says Office app is becoming the new Microsoft 365 app. Your home to find, create, and share your content and ideas. So yeah, new logo as well.
Yes, new logo, new.
And I think the other thing to go is the actual Office app itself, because there is an Office app as well as Word, Excel, whatever. That's been rebranded as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So it makes you wonder how long Office.com is for the world. Whether they'll maybe actually have a different URL for that as well. Maybe Microsoft365.com or something.
Yeah, I always find it quite handy the Office.com because it's always a good place. I always find it very handy for testing your Microsoft account because you can go to there and get the right account signed in, and everything works in there. Yeah, it's surprising. I mean, Microsoft Office is probably one of, apart from Windows, it's the best known brand name, surely, within Microsoft's brand names.
Yes, it's definitely a big change.
Yeah. So I mean, there's Windows, Xbox, Azure, I suppose you could say now, but Office is the other big one, isn't it? So yeah, big change coming up. Of course, the other big brand name is Surface.
Yes, and we had a Surface, didn't we?
Yeah, we did, and I would say this is probably the lowest key and lowest key and most unexcited of the Surface events we've probably ever had.
Certainly some interesting items in there.
There was, but it's a 10th anniversary of Surface, and I was hoping for something interesting. But what we got was just some updated existing devices and nothing new at all. There's no, and even many of the existing devices like the Duo or the Go, which is I was hoping for, there was nothing on them.
No, there wasn't, and I guess the most exciting thing was the SQ3 processor in the Surface Pro 9. The fact you've got an ARM variant of that now as just part of the range, effectively.
Yeah. So what Microsoft did announce was the Surface Pro 9, the Surface Laptop 5, and the Surface Studio 2 Plus. So we'll start with the Pro 9. And as you mentioned, I think probably the most interesting thing out of that announcement is a 5G ARM powered one using the SQ3 processor, which the SQ3 is the ARM processor, which does make for a nice device. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Surface Pro range, although I haven't. The last one I got was the Surface Pro 4. I went to the Surface Laptop. I now on the Surface Laptop Studio, but I do like the Surface Pro. It's that nice sweet spots between tablet and sort of full device. But $12.99 for the 5G one, which it gets you all the connectivity and everything else. So it's expensive that, but the Surface range isn't known for being budget friendly anyway, is it?
No.
And there's also a 12th gen Intel version of it as well, which you can have the i5 or the i7 processor. And no Surface Pro X as well. That's brought in with the Surface Pro 9 range now.
Yes, yeah. So bye Surface Pro X. We hardly knew you.
Yeah. And I think the aesthetic design, everything, is more like the Pro X, isn't it, with the curves and everything else. So and they've moved some of the ports around so they've got the USB-C Thunderbolt 4 port on the side as well. So a nice device, but like I said, nothing too exciting on that, apart from like I said, the SQ3, the Laptop 5. Again, just a spec bump, really, isn't it? It's 12th gen Intel processor, Thunderbolt 4, no SQ3 version of that, so it's just all Intel, no AMD version either, which was a surprise, really, because they had quite a few AMD of the other previous range. So, again, you got the USB-C and everything else, but and a new sage color as well.
Yes, which is nice if you like that sort of colour. It's quite a nice sage colour, but it's not my cup of tea. But
nice screens on those. I do do like the Surface laptop is a really nice. If you just want a normal laptop, then
they're great laptops. They're just a bit overpriced for what they are. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to this, laptops are you can get the same spec for a fraction of the price, I would say.
yeah. Yeah, you're paying for the Surface Premium. Nice devices, but again, not the most exciting of devices, because I mean, what can you do with a laptop? The Surface laptop range has never been the most exciting device because it's just a laptop, but it's always been sort of the best example of a Windows laptop, and I think that probably continues, but up there with with all the best ones, the premium ones, but yeah, not that exciting. And then a strange one, the Surface Studio 2 Plus. So 4-year-old design has been got a bit of a spec bump, but it's only got the 11th gen Intel processor, not the 12th.
That's really weird. It's almost like that's been held in abeyance for a year. It's sort of like, did they get this done last year and didn't release it, or it seems like a year-old tech, to be honest.
And especially at 4,699 quid.
Especially as what is really a premium cutting-edge device for designers. You expect them to go for the top processor, top graphics. It did seem a weird choice.
Yeah, and in fact, it's almost got the identical interior with last year's Surface Laptop Studio, with the Intel version with the RTX. So yeah, very strange. I'm not sure who that is aimed at, and who would buy one of those, because if you really are spending $5,500 or $4,500 on one, you're going to want, or a device, I would just go with a really good 12th gen one. In fact, I'd probably go with it for a laptop, the highest laptop studio on a decent monitor. But I suppose there isn't anything that has that form factor, that sort of being able to bring the screen down, but you can do it on a laptop studio. It's not that much difference, but I suppose if you've got that definite need for it, and your business can afford it, then go for it. But it does seem a bit of an odd one to me.
Yeah.
What I was, I found it was a bit of a shame, was, I'm going to go to the Microsoft store and we'll have a look on there, is that they didn't update the Surface Go, so we're still on the Surface Go 3, and like I mentioned, I was in the market for I want to replace my original Surface Go. So I thought, oh well, maybe they'll bring out a Surface Go 4, or even if maybe they'll drop the price of the Surface Go 3, but they did neither. So I think the Surface Go 3 there is still full price. It looks like a good price when you first see it and say, oh, $369, that's a good price. But then when you look at the spec for that, it's the 4 gig of RAM, 64 gig eMMC, which I don't think any Windows 11 should be on that. I'm surprised that even meets the minimum specs for Windows 11. I don't think it does it? I think you need to have 8 gig for Windows 11.
Yeah, I thought you did. Yeah. I'm just going to try to see if it will work. So just got a potential patch for it.
No, 4 gig. Sorry, 4 gig of RAM is the minimum because I remember when I'm doing a VM. So yeah, you can just about get away with it, but I wouldn't certainly go with that 369. I think to get any use out of one, you really need the 499 quid one, which is expensive for a Pentium device, and last year's device at that.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, it seems to be working at the moment. My camera says, let's hope this works. Carries on working.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I was hoping that there would be a refreshed Surface Go if they had one with the new chips in, and then I may have thought about it. Or if that was 100 quid off because it's last year's model, then that again would be, I might look at it, because I've already got my keyboard and everything. But I just feel low to go for 499. So. But I'm starting to go to meetings and stuff now, so the laptop studio is quite big to carry around for sort of taking notes on. So, but then I've got the Duo, so that's what I should be using. So I think that's what I'm going to carry on using for now. I think, I should be using the devices that I've got better rather than getting new ones, I suppose. Yes. So, and then there was a couple of other bits and pieces that they announced. There was an audio dock and a clicker.
Yeah, well, the audio dock seems to have gone down a storm amongst certain people, but I guess that's the people who are using Teams regularly, because it works as a Teams sort of conference mic as well. So I can understand that. But it seemed a strange thing to go. It's it made me think it was probably something that somebody in Microsoft wanted for a meetings, and they built it for them, and then decided to start selling.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. So, yeah, so in all, not much in the event. Virtually everything was leaked. I was hoping there'd be one more thing. We've kind of got this. This happens with every technology area that gets mature, doesn't it? That you can only have innovation for so long, and then things start to get boring, or not necessarily boring, but things get, like the studio, the laptop or whatever, things get refined as best they can, so that once you get to a certain point where they're just incremental improvements. But I was hoping of something new, for the 10th anniversary. It would be, look at this that we're doing, but I think perhaps they got bitten a bit with the Neo and everything else. I think it's probably Windows, isn't it, that's holding back the other device for new form factors, because they haven't quite got that scalable UI that they were looking at with Windows 10X. So that was a shame, but hopefully there'll be other events, and we'll see some new stuff coming soon.
Yeah, maybe.
On the good news side, the Microsoft have started today rolling out the what do they call them, moments. So the first update to the Windows 11 2022 update is out today. That's the one with the tabbed file explorer. It's got suggested actions if you're in certain regions. It's got the taskbar overflow menu, which is definitely welcome. And it's got the right click on the taskbar, so you can do Task Manager now. And I think they've improved the device sharing and things like that. So that's good to see.
Very good.
Yeah, so that's actually started rolling out now. So if you've already got the 22H2 or the 2022 update, then that's rolling out now. I noticed that my Surface though still hasn't picked up the 2022 update yet. So Microsoft must still be holding that back. I'm not quite sure why like something like the Surface Laptop Studio would be held back, but yeah, I keep checking for updates. It's not there. And I know I could do it manually through the upgrade tools and everything else, but I was hoping to have a nice surprise that it would just be done automatically, and then I could see when everybody else was getting it. But that's not the case. So I've got bored waiting. So I think I'll put the update on, because actually some nice features in there. So I want to get that. Although I've got a new search icon. I don't know if has your device picked up that the search button's got a little sort of blue globe in it now.
I haven't seen that. No. What have I got in mind? No, it's just the normal search icon.
See my desktop. There we go. See my desktop. See down here at the bottom of the search, it's got like a blue globe in it, which that appeared today. So I'm not.
Mine definitely hasn't got that.
Yeah. So I've not got any of the updates applied, but I have got the new the blue globe on there. So there we go. Yeah, so nice to see some new features. In fact, talking of new features as well, there was one I think interesting thing that was mentioned at the event last week was the iCloud integration for the Photos app.
Yes, yeah, that was interesting. There seemed to be a lot of move towards integration of Apple products, I guess because they're so prevalent in the States. I mean, you don't see any iPhones out there.
Yeah, so that will mean that if you're an iPhone user with an iCloud account, you can open the Photos app, and as well as seeing your OneDrive photos, you'll see your phone app, your iPhone photos, which I think is a really good thing, because I think for Android users, and the way I use all my photos end up in OneDrive anyway. But say my wife who's using an iPhone, they go onto iCloud, and being able to just see them in the Photos app, like I can with OneDrive photos, is a great idea. So great for those users. So that's good to see. And I think there was something else mentioned, wasn't it? Apple Music as well.
Yeah, yeah, they're talking about integration. I mean, about the only thing is the messaging hasn't been integrated, which would be a big thing, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Apple. I think Google have numerous times complaining, aren't they, about Apple's locking down of iMessage and the fact there's no interoperability between Android and and iOS. So I think they're keeping that locked down. But yeah, it was good to see. So you need to get the new Photos app, and that was only last week. Microsoft, it was said for insiders on the dev channel, but my devices didn't pick that up either. So I've got the new version of the Photos app, which is actually quite a nice redesign. I think we talked to that a few weeks ago, perhaps. But that's only on the dev channel, that one. So it does look it's multi-windowed. It's a much better application. So that's coming soon complete with the integration as well. Now, and there was one other bit of Windows news. We didn't get a dev channel build last week, but we did get a beta channel build, which again gets this where there's two builds depending on which one you get features on or features off. But there are some things like the tablet optimized taskbar, the system tray that allows you can drag and drop items in the system tray. Those are in it, but again, they're only rolling out to a small set of insiders. So my device, on the beta channel, didn't pick that up, and neither did my virtual machine. So I'm not doing very well recently with the insider chip builds. I'm on the not getting features list for most of my devices for everything, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think that was all the insider build news last week, the Microsoft news. I think I got something new that I wanted to show you. We'll pan the camera around here. So I've been testing a new device. Let me get my where's my okay. My surface not unlocking. So have you heard of the Twinkly devices?
I have, yes.
Yes. So let's do it through my Alexa. Alexa, turn on Twinkly. Fired off your Alexa there.
Yeah.
So I'll do the lights as well here. So I don't know if you see, this is the Twinkly Squares. So it's a 5+1 pack that you get in the box. So 6 panels, one being the controller panel, and then the extension panels. And I'm really impressed with it. It's a really nice device. The only issue I get is every now and then the app doesn't work. But it works fine through your smart home device, but it doesn't always work on here. In fact, typically it doesn't work now where I wanted to demo it. I think it's the Android side of it that's the problem. So I'll just quit the app and reload it. But first of all, assembly, dead straightforward. These are the separate panels here. They just clip together with some clips on the back and some small cables which you join them together. And there's no difficult or complicated way of doing it. You can just connect them up and route them through, and then there's a bit of calibration in the app, and then you can then start playing around with it. It was like 5 minutes basically to get it set up once I'd clipped them together, and then you use to do the calibration, you use your phone, so it knows how you've laid them out, really, because it puts a pattern on there, and then the phone calibrates it. So let's just get this. This app's not working at all now. I've had some real fun with it this afternoon playing with this, because you can not only you can completely control these panels. So all these lights are independent, so you can have different patterns. There's loads of different patterns in here. But you can also download GIFs, animated GIFs, and from the animated GIFs, you can then transfer them across as well. So you can see, I don't know if the camera's picking up. You can see that it's the Running Man that I've got here.
Yeah.
So that is a GIF that I downloaded off the internet, and then sent it down to it. So I don't know why my phone is not picking this up. Try restarting Wi-Fi.
Pray to the demo gods.
Yeah, it must be just how it routes to the internet. So it must be having trouble. The app's having trouble communicating with it. Oh, I can't show you anymore. So maybe I can show you next week on that when I figure out why it connects.
I mean, they're very cool devices. I think I've also heard people mention this app is used before on Android, though not on iOS, I believe.
I think I'll try the APK on my on this device on my Surface as well, because you get all these different patterns that you can choose. And like I mentioned, you saw the running man, and I've got like a purple swipe on there and that kind of thing. So there's loads of different things you can do on it. And I said download for the internet. There's like Christmas ones, and you can put your own logos on there. So I can show you next week, but it's quite expensive though. It's 250 quid for the 6-panel one, and I think you can get additional panels of, I think they were £99 for 2, so they're not cheap. And if you look at their website, you see some fantastic examples of what you can do with it, but they've got like 36 panels or something like that. So,
you need a bit of money to be able to do that.
Yeah. So I mean, I think if you did another 6, you can get sort of portrait style thing, and they've got the resolution is good enough to get some basic pictures on there. There's one that looks a bit like sort of an not Aurak, what was Zen from Blake 7, that kind of flashing thing on the screen, and so there's a skull, and I've got the 2DL logo and that kind of thing. So I'll figure out what's wrong with it. I suspect it's a network issue. But I'll figure that out for next week's show. But in principle, it works well. So I very enjoyed fiddling around with that today. And like I said, it's very easy to set up and get up and running. But I'm not sure whether I would get any more panels. But I do like it. So I think I'm probably going to mount it over there, somewhere like that. Of course, you need power, but it comes with a USB-C charger as well. That sort of. I suppose you could power it from a battery, a USB-C battery pack, if you didn't have power where you want it to go. But I think if I mount it on there, I could just run the cables around the back here or something like that, and it would just sort of fit on there quite nicely. So that's the plan anyway. So once I figure out get it working, other than the running man that I've got on there as or a solid color. Even on solid color, it's quite nice for to light the studio up and everything else. So I've got a few different lights now. I've got my hue light, and I've got this light, so I can get some quite nice sort of atmospheric lights in here at the moment. So quite good for doing my music recording, to get an atmosphere going. I mentioned that as well. I think I mentioned last week I did sign up with DistroKid, so my first release should be available fairly soon. It's not quite ready yet on Spotify, cool. Apple Music, and other locations as well. So I'm looking forward to be able to do that. So when it'll sort of be available to just to stream, and all the music services are on there. So I can I've put them on SoundCloud, but I think it's nice to be on one of those, on the streaming services, so I can sort of say, just get on there.
It'll probably end up playing in my car. People I know seem to turn up. I work with someone at the moment who's a very good guitarist, and so some of the recent tracks appeared on my car. Not been asked for, so yes, it seems to know about me.
There's some, and I said I'd report back. So this is DistroKid that I'm using, which is £20 for I think $20 for a year to push your music. So it's not like the old days where a label would sign you and you get your money. It doesn't work like that for this. Is a vanity thing. I want my stuff going out there. So so I'm pushing my stuff out there. So I've got to pay to get that out there. So but it's out there, and you can sign up for if you're on Spotify. Actually, I can show you the page. You can sign up for the sort of pre-release, So they give you some nice tools as well, because partly doing this to, to see what's available. So yeah, I've got this nice link that I'll include in the show notes, so you can have a preview of the first 3 songs. So I've got 3 tracks on there. Listeners will probably be familiar with a few of them because I've these 3. So I've done it like as a mini album with the 3 tracks on there, and you can get the preview on that, and then you get an email when they're live. I think it'll be live late, but probably by the time this show goes out, the tracks will be on there. And then once these 3 are done, then I've got a full album to go up there, because I reckon I've got about 30 odd tracks now that I've finished. So I'll pick the best sort of few of those and post those on an album. So it's quite a fun experiment. I certainly enjoy doing the music side of it. So yeah, all recorded on Windows as well. So on machines running Windows inside a build. Yeah, it's a fun little project. So link in the show notes, but yeah, you can have a listen to those, and I'll probably play out with a couple of new ones done. I've got one which I just finished at the weekend, which is a little bit homage to the sort of 80s, 90s driving games, like Outrun and those kind of games. So it's not exactly like Outrun, but those kind of driving games, console or arcade type games. So I've got a couple of them as well. So I've got a few new tracks as well. So yeah. It's interesting. There's loads of different services out there, but and would you believe it? The light panel is responding now. Yeah, so I can quickly show you a few of these before I go. So let's go on to see if it does respond. Oh yes, it will. So that should be a purple wipe that's going on there. No, I think it's
very, very disappointing purple wipe.
Yeah, I think that's crashed the app.
Well, at least the A device is working. Have we actually spoken since Amazon's 2022 event?
I don't know whether we have now.
Because they announced an awful lot of stuff. I mean, this is there we go. That's impressive.
Yeah. God, you tell us about that. Why fiddle with the lights?
Why fiddle with the lights? So so every year Amazon has a big event, and they announce all their new products. This is the US market only initially. Some of the stuff comes to UK, some of it doesn't necessarily. So the first big piece of news was the Kindle Scribe. So this is an e-ink device that you can write on with basically Amazon's technology. Seems quite good. Integrates with quite some Microsoft-y bits, so you can actually send stuff to Office, which looks quite interesting, and a very decent pen on it from all accounts. So I might try one of these at some point just to see what I like, because I like my writing devices, my e-ink devices. The books which I've shown you before, I still use almost every day. So that looks quite good. And you can, as I say, you can share it to send sticky notes to Word and mark up PDFs and all that sort of stuff and they are saying we'll be able to send documents directly to the Scribe from Word as well, so you can then mark them up. So that might be good for meetings and things like that. So $339, and that is going to be global. And you get a free 4-month subscription on Kindle Unlimited as part of that. Some of us already got that. There's going to be a lot more other Kindle things coming along, new basic Kindle, and a lot of other stuff as well. Some of that won't hit the UK, some of it will. What else was the big news? There was a lot going on at this event. Lots of talk about AI and prioritizing sleep. There's a Halo Rise, which is sort of a light for your bed, which is supposed to make you sleep better. I'm not sure I trust an Alexa's device right next to my bed, but
well, I've got one.
It's not actually a true Alexa device. It's more of it works with an Alexa, and it can dim lights. And it's basically a bedside light. It's a funky shape. It's sort of a round shape with a clock built into it. So there's that. New Echo Studio. So the best sounding speaker ever is now even just sounding speaker ever. That's coming, and it comes with spatial audio processing technology to build on the 3D audio design. So, and also they've added a new colour. It only used to be available in black. It's going to be available in white as well. Echo Dot's going to be updated. So they've redesigned it to fit a larger speaker. So it should be clearer vocals, and they reckon twice the bass of the previous version. But it's supposedly much more much clearer sound. They've updated the Echo Dot with clock to be able to make it show more information. There was some talk that they actually might build that into routines as well, which I would find very interesting, that you could actually use the Echo clock to send you notifications and actually put messages up. Be really good. Maybe flashing screens like that. No, not quite. And there's an accelerometer now on the Echo Dot, so you can tap it to give it instruction effectively. Shut up. So that's a temperature gauge for better. One of the most interesting things I thought about new Echo Dot is they're going to build Eero into it. If you know what Eero is, Eero's Amazon's mesh Wi-Fi. They bought Eero, and it's now getting to be a reputation to be one of the better mesh Wi-Fi's out there. So rather than buying mesh Wi-Fi routers for each room, just put an Echo Dot in each room, and it would actually do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They haven't said whether they're going to do the same for the Echo, which I would like to see as well. But that's and there's new Echo Dots for the kids as well, which you may or may not come over to you. There's Echo Auto is going to have a new build. I mean, the Echo Auto box hasn't been particularly successful. Primarily, it doesn't work for very many cars. It's going to have a new, slimmer look, supposedly much more compatible with our cars. They're also building it into BMWs, which you might be interested in.
Yeah, well, it's built into mine. Well, I think I'm not sure it's using the phone, but there's a connection. It's always telling me to use it. Yeah.
Well, they're going to have a custom Alexa custom assistant built in, which allow you to basically control the whole of a BMW. They unveiled Astro a year ago, which I don't think is coming to the UK, which is their robot. And they're actually going to make that do more, become sort of like a virtual security guard. Can work with a ring. They also introduced some new cameras, Spotlight Cam Pro, and then Blink, which I know we all like and use. There's a new Blink Mini Pan Tilt, an accessory for the Blink Mini security camera, which basically brings the ability to pan and tilt your little Blink camera, which is good. Doesn't seem to be very pricey either. So that's good. And there was a lot of talk about Matter, which is the new standard for home automation. It's going to replace Zigbee, Z-Wave, etc. There was also talk about their new. Again, we mentioned the Eero range coming into the ring, but they're also doing a new Eero 6E version, which with power over Ethernet, which is primarily for installers. And at the moment, it's only going to be in US and Canada. But I'd quite like that, being able to run Wi-Fi extenders just off an internet cable. And they're going to have a gateway with that as well. They talk about lots of talk about routines. One of the things I'm quite excited about, although I haven't got one yet, but they're talking about they in the States they have a Fire TV, which isn't a stick; it's actually a physical TV, and they're going to bring that same functionality to the Echo Show 15. So the big Echo Show, you can get sticks on the so that will become a full blown Fire TV option. I don't know if it's going to have the ambient intelligence, which I think is really interesting on the Fire TV. Actually, I've just checked, and yes, it will have. So ambient intelligence is basically because it's got a camera, it detects whether you're in the room and will actually turn off or do other things. And you can tell it to watch TV, to turn the TV on when you walk into the room and go to your favourite channel and things like that. So you can do some routines based on that as well. And that will be added to all Echo 15s very shortly. Fire TV Cube. And now this is the Fire TV Cube was let's say not too successful in its original launch. There's a new version, and this is going to be a much improved version of the Fire TV Cube. It's it's also got built-in 360-degree IR blaster, so you can control all the TV devices from Alexa. And
that's a good idea, because I got a Harmony Logitech Harmony thing for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and actually we still use that, and with the new Skybox it works perfectly well.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to reprogram it.
Yeah, and it's obviously going to have a lot more functionality in there. The other thing they announced was the Alexa Voice Remote Pro. So this is another version of the remote for your Fire TV or your physical Fire TV or your Fire TV6. And one of the things I really like about this, it's got a remote finder feature. So if you lose your remote, you just say, Alexa, where's my remote? And it'll start beeping.
And of course yours is talking to you now.
Yeah. Yeah. And probably in the country is put into life. So that's basically most of the things they love. So they did mention a few things which are US only. As I said, the new Fire TV, which looks good, the proper full blown one. Didn't have anything on anything new on the actual Fire TV sticks, which I half expected. The Max is over a year old now, so kind of expected they might bring something else about that. They did mention that they're going to have the Alexa widgets they announced for the larger Echo shows are going to come through on the Fire TVs as well. So you'll be able to have pop-up little widgets you can use for various things on there. So yeah, that's basically what happened a month ago.
I like I think there's some nice devices on there, and I actually started to use my Kindle quite a lot recently for reading, but I quite like the idea of being able to scribble some notes on it and that kind of thing. So
I love my books device, which I use almost daily for making notes, because even compared to a tablet, it's just that battery life and the ease of use, and it feels like paper as well, which I think is really good.
Yeah, I quite like that. I think that's it's quite a good idea, and I think of all the smart home stuff, that it's the stuff that makes your life convenient. That's what that gives you that longevity of these devices. Setting timers, the alarm clocks, turning on the lights, and turning on the receiver and the audio and the TV and the Skybox, all that convenient stuff. It means that. Once the novelties wear off, you still continue using them. So I think the shows with the screens and everything else, are really good. So I'm quite happy with my device. I keep using them, which is a good thing, good sign. Apart from when I set them off on everybody's machine via my device. So you see, I got the some of the light panel working. I think it's
that's really cool.
A network issue. So some nice effects on there, unless that you can customize your own and everything else. So I probably certainly by next week I'll have the video out, so I can check that out, and I'll try and get some video of it all working at the same time with the lights, because I have got a routine on the Amazon device that turns everything in the room. So the lantern, the big light, that one, everything all comes in, and it goes into a nice purple mode for synth recording. So
very, very, very 70s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it gives me a bit of ambience.
Your big concept album will be out shortly.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's given me a lot of early 80s electro pop styles. Yeah, so it's good. In fact, I know we talked about it last week, but quickly mentioned that Synthfest I went to in Sheffield. I think next year, if you get a chance, I think you'll enjoy going up there, actually, because it was a lot more. There was a lot more there than I thought. So I kind of went with my lads and thought, well, see what it's like. But actually, it was a really good day. So I recommend that for anybody. It's any interesting music technologies. Definitely go and have a look at that. And I didn't buy anything. Because everybody says I've no room in here. I don't know why. It's just I'm sure I could fit something in somewhere. Right. Well, I think that's everything we've got for this week's show. So look out for the video of the light. I've got a bit of I got my logo on there. I have got a video on the Korg drivers as well. I've done a new video on Korg drivers, so if you have any issues with Korg drivers, check that out. So Gary, where can we find you and your videos?
You can find me at Gary WMA on Twitter, Gary with 2 R's. YouTube as Fiona, which I'm still editing a 6-month review of my car, so I'll try and get it back become a month review by the time I find it fully good. There's a lot of material there, and it's a long time when you're editing 4K material.
It does, yeah. It really does slow your device down as well, doesn't it? When you start editing 4K stuff, the massive files.
Especially the 4K stuff I'm getting from my drone as well. The new Mini I mentioned a few weeks ago, which I still love. That's brilliant. But that's 4K 30p frames per second, and so that adds up even more. And it's very smooth, but it takes a long time to edit.
Yeah, a lot of space as well. Excellent. Well, we should be back same time, same place next week. I'm at iStixon on Twitter. I'll include a link for the music stuff in the show notes, and I will play out with that track that I was talking about. That's the retro gaming style one. I might as well I just finished that one, so I'll play out with that one, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.